body pain, back pain. You know, the thing is with the back, a lot of people have sciatica. They got the sciatic nerve pain. They're in pain all the time. They're walking around aching and everything. And the problem is with backs is that it's not just about seeing a chiropractor, which is fine. You can see a chiropractor if somebody wants. They can get massage if somebody wants. They can get back surgery if somebody wants, right? Not that they always want back surgery, but a lot of people get pushed into it. The key is, why is it inflamed, right? Is it a degenerative disc issue, right? But here's the thing. A lot of people walk around and their backs are shot. They got bulging discs, degenerative disc issues, right? Spinal stenosis. They get all these kinds of issues going on with their back, but they're not in any pain whatsoever. So they're not in any pain. Good to see you guys coming on here. They walk around and they're fine. And that's what's confusing probably to a lot of doctors out there and a lot of chiropractors and a lot of natural doctors, holistic doctors, functional medicine doctors, where they're like, why isn't something happening here? If they ever take a look at somebody's lumbar, somebody's lower spine, and they're like, well, they got two bulging discs, right? And the person's not hurting. And how does this happen? One reason is it takes more than a pinched nerve to have pain. And so many people have pain in their back, right? And that's just one area in their back. They have pain in other places too. Good to see you guys coming on. Talking about back problems and body pain, right? Specifically back problems for a lot of people, sciatica, sciatic nerve pain. So the thing is with nerve pain, inflammation can take back problems to a whole nother level. So it's inflammatory issues can take your back problem to a whole nother place. Someone with a bulging disc, if they're not inflamed, they won't have a problem. Somebody with a bulging disc that's inflamed will have a problem. And that's a big, big thing. So many people get into back surgery. So they have back surgery done and it doesn't fix the problem. And they're confused. Like, this was supposed to go away. This was supposed to, I was not supposed to have this problem. The doctor would be like, well, we did your back surgery. You should be walking in 3 days. You should be all better. And there they are. They're not better. And they have these back problems and it goes on for like a year and 2 years and 3 years and 4 years. And it just keeps on going on. Even after back surgery, a lot of people get repeated back surgery too. So why is this important? Because a lot of people, without realizing it, right, have this nerve inflammation. So the nerves are inflamed in their back. And that's what they don't know. So I want to bring this over for a second too, okay? Good to see you guys coming on here. We're talking about sciatic nerve pain or back pain. A lot of people have it. And, you know, a lot of people suffer from it and the whole bit. And it's something that I don't talk about too often because there's so many other problems people have and so many other conditions like brain conditions and everything else, right, that we talk about. But when it comes down to back problems, and here, if you're young and you feel indestructible, you haven't had anything hit you yet, you just get a massage once in a while, right? It's like, who cares about your back? And then you pull out your back, in a sense, like a back muscle if you work out too hard or something like that, you know, and a lot of people do that. Well, they'll pull a muscle out. I'm talking about when back problems become this chronic illness problem, this chronic issue, and that chronic issue just doesn't go away and it stays there forever. And that's what we're on right now. So it takes inflammation of that nerve to really make a back problem happen, unless you get a fracture or you get a break or you got degenerative disc disease where the disc just crumbles and falls apart, completely falls apart. And then now you got pressure on all the nerves. And that's a different situation. But most people out there, right, they have nerve pain, okay? And that nerve pain isn't because of a bulging disc. That nerve pain isn't because of something else. And that's important to, like, degenerative disc problems. There's people out there, their backs are chewed up, their backs are shot, their vertebrae is damaged in so many ways, but they're out there and they're living their life. They're like doing this, they're doing that, they're taking walks, they're running on treadmills, they're living their life, and their backs are shot. But it's that one moment where all you need is that viral inflammation. And the minute you get that viral inflammation, you got a lifetime of sciatic nerve pain, got a lifetime of lower back problems, and other places too. It can happen in other areas as well in the back. Okay, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, TikTok, Twitch, and Getter. So we're live on all those platforms right now, which I'm excited about. Haven't seen you guys in a while. It's good to see you guys. A.M. says, AW, Amazon Easter basket was great today. Love the goodies of the basket. Thank you for being there. Guys, check out that Amazon Live I did with Easter baskets. I put all these Easter baskets together, and I made some deviled potato bites, which were really good, and the whole bit. You know, I got high on maple syrup, you know, like the whole bit. Cotton candy. I had cotton candy in there. It was really great. It was fun, you guys. So check it out when you get a chance, and you'll see the link in the description. So here we are talking about back problems people have. So what can we do about it? Getting the inflammation down is critical, you guys, if you want a good back. And I mean that. It's not just about massage. It's not just about, you know, chiropractor adjustments. It's not just about any of that. Okay, when your back's inflamed, and I've seen this a lot of times, when your back is inflamed because of inflammation caused by a pathogen, everything changes. Everything changes. That's when you got chronic back problems. You can get massages once, twice a week. You can get chiropractor adjustments, right? You can try all these devices, and you're still dealing with sciatic nerve pain, sciatica. You're dealing with problems in the back, problems in the lumbar. So this is important right now. So what I tell people, friends and family that have a back problem, okay? They go to their doctor. The doctor checks out their back, right? And they're like, well, you got a little bit of a bulge in one disc, or you're a little degenerative in another disc, right? Or everything looks fine, but we don't know why your back hurts. And that's another thing too. A lot of people, everything checks out fine in their back. Everything checks out okay, but they don't know why they're in pain. They just don't know why their leg is numb. They don't know why their foot hurts. They don't know why they have pain in the calf. They don't have any of that. So that's important to know. A lot of people, right, will have pain in their knee. They'll have pain in their ankle, pain somewhere in their foot, and they'll get a diagnosis of like plantar fasciitis. They'll get some other type of diagnosis, right? But really what's happening, the pain's coming from their lower back, and that's where it's coming from. So you can get pain in your legs, you can get numbness, you can get tingling in the legs, you can get problems in the legs and feet, which can lead to a different diagnosis. Meanwhile, the problem is inflammation with the sciatic nerve, inflammation with the tibial nerve, inflammation with the lower lumbar, right? The lumbar. It could be inflammation in, you know, L5, L4, L3, L2, L1. It could be inflammation in all of those. And that's people will deal with. That's what they deal with. They deal with this chronic problem. Any advice on degenerative discs? So the whole thing is, what I'm trying to say is that when you get your inflammation down, something changes. Something changes. I'm going to talk about degenerative discs and bone problems too with all that. When you get your inflammation down, I've seen even the worst backs recover and get better. Debbie Evans says, hello, the celery juice took away my back pain. That's incredible because the inflammation went down from the celery juice alone. I have RA, and I used to have so many aching places in my body. You're on Facebook, Debbie Evans. Amazing. Well, that's what happens is like celery juice is one of the medical medium tools, right? And it has an ability to change people's lives, even if they're just doing that. A lot of people, they may need more than that. And there's a lot of medical medium tools. But the celery juice is helping because it's knocking down viral inflammation. So that's what it's doing. It's knocking down viral inflammation. Now, if celery juice doesn't do the trick for a lot of people, then that's when a lot of other things have to be thought about. Like one is, when you're dealing with back problems, you're dealing with nerves, right? So that's when B12 is critical. So that's a big piece of how we keep our nerves good. It's through B12. That's another example right there, okay? Magnesium is a good thing for nerves, and it's a good thing for problems like that. But guess what? When it's viral inflammation, then you're looking at things that are antiviral, right? Where you're looking at like L-lysine, and you're looking at stuff like that. These things make a difference. There's a lot of people with stubborn back problems. They just don't go away. And the stubborn back problems are because they're dealing with viral inflammation, a pathogen. So it's critical to have the right type of stuff, the right kind of stuff, right? And so this is the Vimergy stuff right here. I'm not sponsored, but this is the Vimergy stuff. So that's the micro C, that's the lysine. Because when you're dealing with inflammation, you're dealing with pain in the body, and it's mysterious, then there's something going on. Immune system problems, along with pathogen issues, along with viral issues. And, so we have to realize you got immune system is low. Pathogens are increasing. So what's the number one pathogen that gets in the way when it comes to back problems? The number one pathogen that gets in the way with the back problem, you guys, is the shingles virus. That's the number one. And you don't have to have shingles to have that back pain, okay? You don't have to see the shingles. Like, you don't have to see the pustules of the shingles stripped across your chest or stripped across your back or on your leg or on your butt or on your thigh. You don't even need to see the shingles for it to cause problems. The shingles virus sits in everybody, and it can cause a problem one way or another as time goes on. So what happens is we're living our life, our immune system gets knocked down. It gets knocked down by different things, different problems that we're up against. Our immune system gets knocked down, right? Like betrayal and hardship and loss can break down our immune system, okay? Foods that aren't good for us can break down our immune system over time. And these different things break down our immune system. And then viruses like the shingles can creep up and creep up. And when that virus creeps up, it loves a couple of different areas. It loves the trigeminal nerve. It loves to be up here in this area, okay? And it can cause things like Bell's palsy. It can cause things like trigeminal nerve pain. That's one thing shingles does. And another thing it does, it can actually more commonly too, it gets into the nerves in the lower back. So shingles can get into the nerves in the lower back. Another thing too, it's the big body pain causer for so many people. Of course you can mess up your back. Of course you can have pinched nerves. Of course you can have a vertebrae problem. But guess what? If a viral issue is combined with that vertebrae problem, if a viral issue is combined with that pinched nerve, if a viral issue like shingles is combined with that sciatic nerve or tibial nerve, when that virus is involved, it takes it and it explodes it. The impact is so much more. So now you've got sciatic problems forever. You've got problems with your back forever. It's like, not a good day. My back's not doing good. I'm going to go see somebody else for my back. And you have these problems that could be long lasting. So what happens is if someone has like neurological Lyme, or if they have something like multiple sclerosis, or if they got lupus, or they got fibromyalgia, it usually comes with back pain too, because you're dealing with pathogens. And when those pathogens are up, they tend to cling onto nerves. And the lumbar is a place where the shingles likes to cling onto. That's a big area that the shingles likes to cling onto. Likes to cling onto the lumbar. So one of the things that I tell my family and I teach doctors is you got to get the immune system strong, right? You got to get the immune system strong. There's some olive leaf, right? Licorice is another thing. These are antiviral. You got the licorice, you got the olive leaf, you got the cat's claw, okay? That's one way of doing it. You can be somebody where you just do celery juice, and you start with celery juice, and that's what you use. And celery juice is antipathogenic. So what celery juice does is it reduces pathogen levels in the body. That's what celery juice does. So that's why a lot of people are like, oh, I'm drinking celery juice. Like Debbie said, I'm drinking celery juice for a certain amount of time, and all of a sudden now things are getting better. My back pain's getting better. My problems are getting better. But there's a lot of people, they're really viral. They have a lot of viral inflammation. They'll have 2 or 3 Epstein Barrs. They'll have a shingles. They'll have 2 shingles viruses and don't even know it. And they get into that lower back. That's what they do. And especially the shingles virus. The problem there is then we have pudendal nerve problems, where we have bladder problems, and we have nerve pain in our groin, and nerve pain in our lower abdomen, and nerve pain in our pudendal nerve down there in the bladder, and that will happen too. And the shingles virus tends to cause all of this, while it's also clinging onto the lumbar nerves and clinging onto getting in between the vertebrae and inflaming a nerve. And here's one of the reasons why it does that. if a nerve does get pinched, right, root hairs fray off of that nerve. And when root hairs fray off of that nerve, a signal happens inside the body. It's like a homing signal for a pathogen. And that's when the shingles virus will go looking for, and I've talked about this in the medical media books, it'll go looking for that damaged nerve, that injured nerve. And that's what it does. So you'll end up with, you guys, if you just came on here on TikTok, talk about sciatic nerve pain, body pain, joint pain, we're just talking about back problems. This is an important life for anybody who's struggling with back issues and stuff like that. It's really good information, which can be really helpful. So as nerve hairs get frayed, you guys, nerves like the sciatic nerve or tibial nerve or any of these nerves coming off the spine, when they get frayed, because these root hairs come off the nerve, kind of like yarn. I don't know if you guys ever seen a strip of yarn where you got all these little hairs on that yarn all popping up all over the place. Well, guess what? When that happens, and it happens to a lot of people's nerves, viruses like the shingles look for that. And that virus goes and it clings on to the nerve is what it does. When it clings on to the nerve swells. So now the nerve swells. So now somebody's sciatic pain level is even more. And now somebody's sciatic nerve pain is even more. And that leads us into this vicious cycle. The more pain we're in with our lower back, the more chances we're going to jolt it or hurt it. And that's what happens. People walk around, they hurt their back. You know, other things happen. Marla says, totally. I've had back issues, seeing a chiro for years. Amazing. Now following medical meeting protocols, I'm finally healing. Oh, that's incredible. Doing the medical meeting protocols for the back issues. The chiropractor says it's like adjusting a different body. That's amazing, Marla. You know, that's amazing. So I see a question on TikTok. It says, how do you get the shingles? So here's the thing with shingles. Shingles is easy to get. You can catch the shingles in just a public restroom, just off the toilet seat. Very easy, just off the toilet seat. I often talk about how you got to look out when you're going to the bathroom in a public restroom. You got to flush the toilet first before you sit down to eliminate, because when you sit down to eliminate, as you're dropping that torpedo into the toilet, I've talked about this so many times, a splash can happen, and that splash has other things in the toilet bowl. I've talked about all these different pathogens in there, and you can have shingles could be just floating on top of the water and it just splashes back up. It could be on toilet seats, restaurants. Eating out in restaurants is probably one of the biggest ways to actually catch the shingles. There's so much shingle contamination just in that alone. So what happens, people don't realize that when we eat in restaurants, we're eating off of forks. The forks weren't sterilized. There's a lot of stuff I've talked about that with the forks, where forks aren't sterilized. So when you go to a dentist and the dentist sticks a drill in your mouth or sticks a probe, like the metal probe. Have any of you guys been to a dentist where the dentist takes a metal probe and they're poking around and they're jamming it into your teeth, right? Okay. Well, that's basically, you go to a restaurant and they're not sticking that in a sanitizer. They're not doing that. They put those tools in these little bug killer machines, right? That's what they do. Or they open up brand new tools for people. They just open them up and they poke in their mouth with a brand new tool that's never touched another person's mouth. When you go into a restaurant, they don't take the forks and the spoons and they don't put it into literally like a $10,000 unit to actually kill everything on them. Instead, they just run them through a crappy dishwasher. If you're lucky, they do that in the restaurants, busy restaurants. If you're lucky, you can do that. And now you got a fork that's been in 20 people's mouths that day, 10 people's mouths that day or that week or whatever. And then you're using that fork and you're jamming it in your gums and you're hitting your tongue with it. And that's how we get the shingles. That's one reason right there. So this information could be helpful for you guys. Where you're like, I'm not eating out anymore. Relationships is another way to get shingles. It's relationships is how everybody transfer bugs. That's how everybody's transferring bugs. They're transferring the Epstein Barr. They're transferring the shingles. They're transferring these bugs back and forth. And the relationships, that's another big way it's done all the time. So people everybody has at least one variety of shingles in them. And eventually they'll have like a sciatic nerve pain problem. And here's how it works. Someone, if their shingles hasn't come out of dormancy, they can have some damaged back, right? Damaged vertebrae. They could have pinched nerves, but they're not in pain. A lot of people walk around, they're not in pain. They have like, you know, bulging discs. They have problems with their back and they're not in pain. But then you get somebody, right, who has hardly anything wrong with their back or nothing wrong with their back at all that can be seen with the eye through x-rays or anything else, or through an MRI or an x-ray or anything at the chiropractor's office, and they can't even see. There's nothing there. And then they still have all this mysterious back pain, right? All that mysterious back pain. That's because the shingles virus can cause this even if you don't have a back injury or a sciatic nerve that's being compressed or any kind of nerve that's being pinched or any nerves off the lumbar that's being pinched, right? The whole bit. So all that's important to know. What I tell doctors all the time is if you want to get back problems better, the first thing you got to do, instead of jumping into surgery and back surgery, because a lot of people jump into back surgery, and then as they come out of back surgery, man, it's not getting better. And now what the heck? They're on painkillers. Now they're on opioids. Now they're on a lot of painkillers. And now they're addicted to painkillers, and they still have the back problem, and it's post-surgery, and they're suffering, right? And I tell doctors, whenever doctors reach out, and doctors I've known for years, I tell them what you have to do is you have to make sure you try to get that inflammation down first. That's a big thing, is getting that inflammation down first. If you're even going to do a back surgery, you have to work on getting inflammation down first, unless it's a crisis, where there's just such a crisis in the back because of a severe injury or something that just happened. You know, sometimes people can't avoid that. But overall, it's really important to know that you can take precautions in so many ways and avoid back surgeries. I've had so many people avoid back surgeries. So a couple of things, let's talk about a couple of tips to do. Okay, first of all, if you're somebody that's really acidic and really toxic, you're doing your caffeine, right? You guys on TikTok, you're doing your caffeine products. I know you guys on TikTok, I know a lot of you guys are jacked up on caffeine, and there's no I'm not judging anyone here. Same thing with you guys and you know, in other places too, on Facebook, wherever else. I get it. Everybody's on caffeine and all that, but caffeine really makes an acidic body. And the more acidic we are, the more room we're going to have for eventually pathogen issues. Another thing is dairy products. A lot of people are doing a lot of dairy products. Okay, that's another thing that can make our body, right, environment really acidic. Okay, vinegar, that's another one right there too. I know everybody's on vinegar every other day. It's in condiments. It's in your refrigerator. Everybody's mainlining all that vinegar, right? So, and what we're doing is when we're doing all that, we're starting to lose all our calcium. So we're weakening all of our bones. So we got to remember that. That's one thing right there. So in order to preserve your lumbar, preserve your vertebrae, preserve your spine and your bones and your skull, is to get that acidity under control. So you're not using your calcium to neutralize all the other stuff you're doing, like the dairy products and the caffeine and the vinegar. So we have to keep that in mind, right? A lot of us are just really acidic, and that doesn't help. But the acidity can lower the immune system, allowing pathogens to creep up like shingles. And then when pathogens like shingles creeps up, we inflame the nerves. And then that pathogen inflames all the different nerves. And that's important to know. And so we end up hurting ourselves. We hurt our back, and we got a real acidic environment in our body, right? We're totally acidic. Our immune system is already struggling a little bit. And then all it takes is that. And then boom, the shingles virus comes out. And when it comes out, when it comes ripping out, you don't need a rash. You don't need pustules. You don't have to have any pustules. You don't have any rashes. You don't need any of that to have shingles. The shingles virus does things on its own without showcasing that pustule or that rash. And it goes into the lumbar, into the nerves, attaches itself to the sciatic nerve, attaches itself to nerves coming off of L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. It attaches itself to those lumbar nerves coming out, okay, out of the spine, and it attaches itself to the tibial nerves. It attaches itself to the pudendal nerve in the front. So a lot of people, okay, a lot of people right in the front, the pudendal nerve, okay, that shingles virus will attach into the pudendal nerve, and then they have the overactive bladder, then they have the bladder pain, then they have the bladder problems, then they have all that weird, the terrible itching in their lower abdomen that they can't like get any kind of you know, any kind of relief from. All these problems can happen from the shingles virus getting into the lower part of the body. So I guess the bottom line is, one of the things I'm trying to tell you guys is the shingles virus can get into the lower part of our body and wreak a lot of havoc. And what it does, it gets into the spine, the lower spine, and that's where it causes a lot of turmoil, the shingles virus there. So some of the basic steps, and I tell doctors to tell their patients, is celery juice is a great place to start. There's no question. If you're doing 16 ounces a day, empty stomach every single morning, don't add anything to it. That right there is something you can start with, because that at least starts to bring the inflammation down by getting toxins and poisons that the viruses create to flush out of the body, okay? Here's where back problems get really bad, all right? You got the shingles virus, your nerves are inflamed, your sciatic nerves are inflamed, your lumbar is inflamed, okay? And then you also have an Epstein-Barr, right? At the same time that's out. A lot of people, they struggle because they'll have the fibromyalgia diagnosis with the neurological Lyme diagnosis, with the back problem diagnosis from the chiropractor, with some other diagnosis, and they'll be into like 4 or 5 diagnoses. They'll have the Epstein-Barrs with the shingles. They'll have an inflamed back and body pain everywhere, so it's confusing. So let's go into that now. A lot of people will have 2 viruses. They'll have the shingles causing sciatic pain and body pain and joint pain in the back and in the hips. And then they'll have the Epstein-Barr causing nerve pain everywhere else, shoulders, arms, hands, in other places in the body, neck, right? They'll have the Epstein-Barr with the shingles, so they'll have a combination of both. And people walk around with all these low-grade viral infections, and they're highly inflamed, and they don't know what they can do about it. One of the things I recommend any family members, I tell doctors this too, is to make sure you're doing the cold packs on the lower spine when you got sciatic nerve pain. Make sure you're doing that every day. You can do some heat on it in the morning. That's something you can offer. Heat on it in the morning is fine, right? Cold packs too, you know, on your lower back. That's a great thing you do, right? And movement's important too. Okay, so movement is important too. Michelle L says shingles has caused so much pain. It causes a lot of pain with a lot of people. Movement's good too, but you got to take it slow. Movement really slow depending on how you're inflamed. I've seen a lot of people get pushed into heavy exercise with their trainers while they're inflamed from viral inflammation they don't know about in their lower back. And then it takes them to another level where now they're really hurting really bad, and then then they're eligible for a back surgery, which could have been avoided. So anyway, some of the other things is to take the viral load down. It's like dropping down the inflammation, and that's the next thing you can do. And that's why I talk about it in the Medical Medium book. So if you're somebody who just got on here, I got the Cleanse to Heal book right here. Okay, so this has the multiple cleanses, but it has the symptoms and conditions in here and the dosages. In case you're new to Medical Medium information, this is the Cleanse to Heal book. Get it free at the library, right? Or get it on Amazon.com. And it talks about the shingles in here, in the shingles section, like the sciatic nerve pain, the frozen shoulder, Bell's palsy, other problems that the shingles cause. Claudia says, I've had bad shingle pain for years. It's starting to get better on your protocols. I'm thrilled, Claudia, on Facebook. Thank you for being here. Protocols are in here. You know, so Courtney M.A. says, I do everything you recommend for movement. That's fantastic. So good to see you guys coming on here. So when it comes down to getting viral inflammation down, Claudia says, so which protocol to use if you have EBV versus shingles with the neurological issues? So you check out the books when you get a chance. What I always say is, what kind of symptom does somebody have? What kind of condition does somebody have, right? All right, so EBV plus shingles, I say. So what kind of symptom that you have? I always say, try to find your symptoms in the books. That's one way of doing it, right? Is find your symptoms in your book, and it'll lead you to being able to start battling that Epstein-Barr, battling that shingles. Take the book to your doctor too, so your doctor, you know, can take a look. How to get inflammation down. Using antiviral approaches gets the inflammation down with the back. Really important to know, right? Antiviral approaches. So I got some golden seal right here, okay? And I would start with the symptom that causes you the most trouble. If it's your back, it's sciatic pain or anything and that's a symptom that causes the most trouble, you start with that in the Cleanse to Heal book. Amazon.com US, it's only $16.99, so it's 51% off, $16. Get it free at the library. You can learn about the protocols. So when you're building up your immune system and knocking down inflammation, some of the things that I teach doctors all the time is golden seal is a good one right there. Cat's claw is another good one. Ask your doctors what's right for you. Licorice is another great one when it comes down to shingles and back pain and back problems, right? That's another one that's really important. Olive leaf's another one that's really important. Or just vitamin C, right? You know, the buffered vitamin C, not the ascorbic acid, right? That's the micro C right there. And you can go to the library, get the book for free at the library. You know, if you're somebody that's like, look, I don't have the $16, get the book, learn about why you have the problem so you can actually do some things through some foods and some cleanses, right? And supplement quality matters too. Just not every vitamin C is the same. Ascorbic acid can be hard on people's stomach. That's why I'm always recommending Vimergy. The stuff is so easy on the system. So, yeah, totally. You guys, I'm heading off to IG. I'm going to turn TikTok back on. I'm going to pop TikTok back on. We're going to Instagram, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'll have Telegram back on too. I'll see you guys then, and we'll cover more there about lumbar, back, nerves, all that stuff.